I'm Max Darrow, and this is The Minute. The special election for the new mayor of Oakland is exactly 1 month away. Early voting is set to begin on Monday. Voters recalled former Mayor Sheng Tao back in November. Congresswoman Barbara Lee and former City Council member Lauren Taylor are among those on the ballot who have emerged as fundraising frontrunners. People marched across the Bay Area to protest federal cuts to the Department of Veteran Affairs. President Trump is looking to cut 80,000 jobs at the VA. Protesters are concerned the cuts will disrupt benefits for veterans who rely on services. Hundreds of employees at San Francisco's public schools will receive a preliminary layoff notice today. Leaders voted unanimously in February to approve the cuts as the district deals with a $113 million budget deficit. And the Bay Area's only primetime newscasts, weeknights at 8 and 9 p.m. on KPIX Plus, 44 Cable 12.
Happy Saturday. We have made it to the weekend after a very rainy past couple of days. Much quieter conditions have settled in all across the Bay Area today. It's going to stay dry all across the Bay into early tomorrow. You might see an isolated light shower early tomorrow, especially across the northern part of the Bay Area before the more widespread activity arrives. That won't be until later Sunday afternoon and evening. And it's going to be a pretty quick mover. It's going to be an overnight system, and by early Monday morning, most of the activity will have already wrapped up. So it's a quick mover, and it's not going to bring many flooding threats, but it will be bringing us some windier conditions starting tomorrow and continuing into early Monday. Again, as that high pressure is continuing to dominate us today, allowing us to stay nice and dry into early tomorrow. So if you have any St. Patrick's Day plans, if you want to go to the parade here in San Francisco, maybe go down to Dublin, you should be good to go. No need to grab that umbrella earlier in the morning, but definitely still grab a warmer jacket. High temperatures are going to still be a bit cooler, so you're going to want to keep warm. Sunglasses, though, especially earlier in the day. As high pressure, like I've been talking about, it's keeping us dry today. Tomorrow, though, first half of the day will be dry before that storm system officially arrives. It's going to bring us more widespread rain, but again, it's going to be a quick mover, similar to the storm system that we saw on Friday. It's going to bring earlier rounds of rain lingering into the afternoon and evening, and then quickly clearing into late Monday night. Today, again, maybe a few clouds out there, but the southern half of the Bay Area, especially later this afternoon and into our overnight hours, really is going to clear out. This should help our temperatures get a bit cooler overnight and waking up early tomorrow morning. That's all ahead of the thicker cloud coverage that's going to fill in everywhere ahead of that incoming storm system. This is our view at 3. Nobody has seen rain quite yet, but after that, North Bay community seeing the rain first, and that line of rain continuing to push south across the Bay Area into the late night hours and by early Monday morning. Again, a few lingering showers sticking around, but it's going to be a lot drier because that system will quickly depart, allowing dry air to return and quiet conditions by Tuesday afternoon. Today, wind gusts might be upwards of 15 to 20 miles an hour, but again, tomorrow morning, as that storm system approaches, those winds will be picking up, and as that storm system moves by, we'll be seeing those gusts upwards of 35 to maybe even 40 miles an hour. So yes, it's going to be breezy, but Wednesday's wind gusts were up to 50 to 55. So it won't be as windy as Wednesday. Still, a few isolated down tree limbs are possible. By the time things are all said and done, we likely are going to be seeing maybe a half of an inch to an inch of rainfall. But again, flooding threats really altogether at a minimum when it comes to the next couple of days of rainfall. And that's really going to be it, because over the next 7 days, much quieter conditions will arrive. Quieting down Tuesday, a few lingering showers by Wednesday. By Thursday and Friday, warmer temperatures and quieter conditions. So altogether, keep an umbrella handy through Monday, but you're not going to need it much longer than that.
Another contentious election cycle is in full swing. Voters are tasked with selecting a new mayor after they recalled former Mayor Sheng Tao back in November. The special election now a month away on April 15th, but early voting actually starts on Monday. There are 15 people on the ballot. 2 of them, however, have separated themselves from the rest of the pack, especially when it comes to fundraising. There's longtime Congresswoman Barbara Lee and former City Council member Lauren Taylor, who did finish second to Tao in the 2022 mayoral race by just a very slim margin. And with a month to go, the campaign rhetoric really is starting to heat up. Our Da Lin spoke with some of the organizers behind Tao's recall, who are now launching a new fight against Lee.
Barbara Lee may be popular in Oakland, but as the frontrunner, the target on her back is getting a lot bigger. Some people are now comparing her to former Mayor Sheng Tao.
If you're from the area, you call it 96 and Sunnyside Park. That's where I grew up at. played basketball, got into fights.
And now this East Oakland native is fighting for his city's future. Fed up with crime and homelessness, Dwayne Tatum volunteered a lot of hours last year to recall Mayor Tao.
This is the most important.
Now he's featured in a new ad urging voters to reject Barbara Lee.
Barbara Lee has no city government experience. She does not speak for me.
We love and respect her, but the problems that Oakland face today, we they're just a little bit too complex for Barbara Lee to be able to come in and really make effective change.
Tatum points out Lee, back in November, urged voters to reject the recall. He reminds voters many labor unions that previously supported Tao are now backing Lee.
I believe it would be a repeat of Shane Tao's policy. These are both very left-leaning, progressive politicians.
Recall organizers claim Lee doesn't have the right policies to improve public safety.
We're going to be in the same condition that we would have been in had we not recalled Shane Tao. And I did not recall Shane Tao to have Shane Tao 2.0.
But Lee supporters dispute that comparison, saying Lee has integrity, experience, and the ability to unite a divided city.
The town is hurting, not just in terms of our finances, but how we see ourselves and how we come together. We've come through two very divisive election cycles, and I believe that she's a unifying candidate who can bring solutions to the table.
Dr. Lynette McElhaney is a former Oakland councilwoman. She says many moderate Democrats, business owners, and people of all backgrounds are standing behind the progressive leader.
Oakland is a leader in this region, and we need someone who can sit at the table on transportation, on climate change, and certainly join the legion of strong leaders across the state to push back against the federal dissolution that we see.
I promise to bring integrity.
Lee's campaign also released a new social media ad this week talking about her years of fighting and representing Oakland on the federal level. Business owner Derek Johnson says not all recall supporters are against Lee. He says many people who voted to oust Tao are supporting Lee.
I'm supporting the Congresswoman because I feel she's the best candidate right now for what we need. Because we need somebody that can restore respectability back to that seat after it's been so damaged, respectability back to our city, and I feel she's the only candidate in this race right now that can do that.
Tatum disagrees, saying Oakland doesn't have a unity problem, it's got a crime problem. He plans to vote for Lauren Taylor next month.
I love my city, and I know that with smart, small steps, we can slowly get there.
Early voting starts on Monday. The elections office will also be mailing out the ballots as well, so people should be getting those ballots sometime next week.
It's not just the mayor's office up for grabs next month in Oakland. Voters will also choose a new city council member for District 2, which includes neighborhoods like Chinatown, East Lake, and San Antonio. There's also a measure to raise the city's sales tax by a half cent. Federal workers have been enduring an unnerving back and forth in recent weeks. Last month, President Trump fired more than 1,000 national parks employees across the country, and that included a handful across the 9 national parks in the Greater Bay Area. Then on Thursday, a federal judge in San Francisco ruled those workers who are with the Department of the Interior actually need to be reinstated. Now, as the battle plays out, it's not just layoffs. National parks are also dealing with funding cuts and temporary hiring freezes. And there now are some private groups who are trying to pick up the slack. Our Lauren Toms went over to Fort Mason, which is a national park right here in our backyard, to learn more about the potential impact of these cuts.
We're right here in a national park where the views are tremendous. When you look across the bay and you see those hills that are green, they don't have houses on them because people decided it was best for them to be for all of us. The hills, the nature, the birds.
Each day, as Chris Leonards gazes across the Golden Gate National Recreation Area, she's reminded of why these parks are so protected in the first place. But now, deep federal cuts threaten to chip away at the very foundation of that protection. Chris is the president of the Golden Gate National Parks Conservancy, a nonprofit that helps fund education, protection, and restoration efforts within the park. She says while the funding helps with these efforts, it's the people that matter.
You lose a child on a trail, you have to have a park ranger who can go and find that child and reunite them with their family. The Natural Resources Department here lost 7 out of their 10 employees, who are biological technicians who monitor the endangered species, who make sure that the conditions of this park are protected and preserved forever. So we're working together with the Park Service to say, what can we do?
More than 1,000 national park workers have been fired nationwide. At least 10 of those were with the Golden Gate National Recreation Area, which spans 90 miles from Marin to San Mateo County. And officials with the Conservancy say 50 more jobs are on the line. A federal hiring freeze could also put crucial summer safety resources like fire protection and the training of search and rescue teams at risk. And that has some park regulars like Misia Serafino worried.
I think we're going to be able to hire firefighters because it makes sense. But as we've found, there isn't a whole lot of logic, unfortunately, right now with the way things are going.
And for volunteers like Kim Harrison, these cuts aren't just about jobs. They're about the safety of visitors, including climbers like herself.
Even if they aren't firing people with this hiring freeze, that means that there are all of these open positions that are not able to, fill these duties, which can have direct impacts on safety of people who are navigating these parks.
And as government funding falters, the pressure to fill in the gaps is increasingly falling to private groups and volunteers like the Golden Gate National Parks Conservancy, who Chris says are up to the task.
I think in a lot of ways, the national parks are kind of a love letter to America. And that love shines through in the way we support those national parks.
Keeping the parks alive through the passion of the people who love them.
Of course, it's not just the National Park Service in limbo. Hundreds of people across the Bay Area are joining nationwide protests against federal cuts to the Department of Veterans Affairs. The Trump administration is looking to cut 80,000 jobs at the VA. These protesters are concerned that the cuts will disrupt benefits for veterans who rely on services like basic health care and insurance. We spoke with one Vietnam veteran in San Rafael who says they're anxious about his future.
There's not a soul in my family that's ever had diabetes or sleep apnea. I have both, and it's like I said when I was talking, both attributed to my exposure to Agent Orange.
These ralliers joined thousands of demonstrators nationwide, protesting cuts to veterans' jobs and services. To the South Bay now, the VTA strike now on day 6, and so far there's no sign of a deal that will get buses and light rail trains rolling again. That means tens of thousands of people who rely on the VTA probably will need a plan B once again next week.
Union power! ATU! Union power! ATU!
The agency says 2 mediation sessions on Thursday and Friday ended without a resolution. Meantime, riders like Sarah Lawton caught in the middle. She says it's hard to keep coming up with alternative ways to get around.
Juggling, like this day I'll take the car, and this day he will drop me off and pick me up, and this day, maybe I can work from home.
The union is asking for an 18% raise over 3 years and a better arbitration process for when employees have complaints. The VTA is offering a 9% pay raise over 3 years, saying anything more would lead to cuts in service. Coming up, the shutdown and transformation of San Francisco's Great Highway officially begins. We'll have the timeline for the creation of the new city park.
After a lot of rain the past couple of days, we are looking at a much quieter weather pattern building in across the Bay Area. Get out today, enjoy some sunshine. There will still be clouds out there, but temperatures a couple of degrees warmer than what we felt yesterday, continuing to warm up into early tomorrow before that more widespread band of rain moves in late Sunday evening and continuing into early Monday morning. Very quickly drying out Monday afternoon and into Tuesday. It's going to be beautiful. You might see an isolated shower or two on Wednesday, but it is really not going to be very impactful. Quickly drying out by Thursday and Friday as temperatures begin to warm up by late next week.
The days of cruising down the upper stretch of the Great Highway are officially behind us. Barriers went up on Friday and road crews began rerouting traffic. The Great Highway closure starts off at Sloat Boulevard near Ocean Beach and runs for a 2-mile stretch to Lincoln Way. The city will now work to convert this stretch of road into a yet-to-be-named oceanfront park. Now, the measure to close the Great Highway passed with 54% of the vote across the city, despite being opposed by nearly 2/3 of Sunset residents. The new park space is set to officially open on April 12th. A SpaceX Falcon 9 rocket is heading to the International Space Station to bring home 2 NASA astronauts after quite an extended stay. The rocket blasted off from Florida's Kennedy Space Center on Friday, carrying a new crew of astronauts that are headed up to the ISS. Now, this is partly a relief mission for NASA's astronauts Butch Wilmore and Sonny Williams. The 2 of them have been stuck in space for 9 months. That's way longer than anybody expected after their Boeing Starliner spacecraft ran into problems. It was originally slated to be an 8-day stay, but their mission turned into an unexpected marathon. The duo is now expected to finally return home to Earth next week. And coming up after the break, the Iditarod dog sled race in Alaska has a new champion. We'll tell you how the man who used to be a reality TV personality is celebrating his victory. Plus,
ahead in sports, the older you get, the tougher it can be to keep in touch with old friends. Steph Curry reconnected with an old pal right before his 37th birthday. Plus, a 49ers nemesis is leaving one NFC West team for another. Where Cooper Kupp is headed next.
What an active weather pattern we've seen over the past several days, but much quieter conditions have arrived today as high pressure is building overhead, at least just off to our south. You can see that area of high pressure that's currently sitting over the Pacific by that ridge of cloud coverage riding along the jet stream. But you notice a lot more activity well off to our north over the Pacific Northwest and Canada. That activity will continue to push south over the next 24 to 36 hours, impacting us by tomorrow evening. But up until then, it's going to be really nice out there. A little bit of fog to kick off our morning, but that fog is not going to stick around forever. We're going to be seeing a good amount of sunshine into this afternoon, and that's going to allow our temperatures to warm up a degree or 2 warmer than what we felt yesterday. We'll be in the low 60s across our inland locations and down into the Santa Clara Valley, upper 50s across our coastal communities and up across the North Bay, where North Bay community is likely going to be seeing a bit more cloud coverage throughout this afternoon and continuing into tomorrow as that storm system will be pushing in from the north. So northern half of the Bay Area definitely going to be seeing more cloud coverage and slightly cooler temperatures than the southern half. But again, more rain for everybody is on the way, and I'll let you know exactly when it's going to arrive coming up in my full forecast.
A couple of good days for Steph Curry. On Thursday, he became the first player in NBA history to make 4,000 threes. And on Friday, celebrated his 37th birthday. After Curry's milestone 3, there was a video tribute at Chase Center, which included a message from his former Warrior teammate, Andris Biedrins, all the way from his native Latvia. Biedrins had the assist on Curry's first career three-pointer in 2009.
I actually had I call it an emotional moment on the bench when I saw him. They didn't tell me that they found him. Got the video message from him. That was my vet when I was here. I would love to have quizzed our team and the bench to see if anybody knew who that was, because that was such a long time ago.
The NCAA tournament starts next week. The CIF tournament wrapping up this weekend. 8 Bay Area high schools up in Sacramento looking for their one shining moment with a state title. Concord's Carondelet High taking on Sage Hill out of Newport Beach in the Division I final. Little over 90 seconds to play. Carondelet clinging to a 1-point lead. Cougar Celeste Alvarez gets left open in the corner, buries the 3, pushing the lead to 4. They win 51-48, their first state title since 2004. Caden Korst looking to lead Marin Catholic to a state championship in her first season as a varsity head coach. Under 5 minutes left, Marin Catholic leading Chula Vista's Mater Dei by 5. Izzy McFadden knocks down the jumper. She scored 21, and the Wildcats won 48-38, their first state title in 23 years. On the boys' side, Connor McGuire leading the International High of San Francisco into the Division V game. McGuire scored 63 points in a game earlier this year. Didn't need it in this one. Only had 32, and the Jaguars beat Diamond Ranch of Pomona 71-52 to take home their first state championship in school history. In the NFL, former Rams wide receiver Cooper Kupp has a new home, and it's no relief to the 49ers. Kupp joining the Seattle Seahawks on a 3-year deal with $45 million. The former Offensive Player of the Year was released by LA earlier this week. Kupp returns to his home state and joins forces with former Niner backup Sam Darnold in a new look Seattle offense. That's going to do it for sports. Have a great day.
March Madness tips off this Sunday when the field of 68 teams is announced on CBS. Make sure to tune in at 4 o'clock for a Selection Sunday edition of Game Day with Vern Glenn and Matt Lively, plus several guest pickers as we unveil our brand new Bracket Mountain. And you can compete against us throughout the entirety of the tournament. Just scan that QR code on your screen or go to kpix.com/bracketchallenge to register your entry now, and then you'll be able to submit your picks. You just have to do that before the first round begins next Thursday. Well, after years of determination and near wins, Jesse Holmes finally claimed victory in one of the toughest races on earth. The former reality TV star won his first Iditarod Trail sled dog race on Friday. That was after he traversed the longest ever course of 1,129 miles in just over 10 days. After he crossed the finish line in Nome, Alaska, he celebrated with his lead dogs Hercules and Polar and received the $57,000 prize. Holmes was competing for the 8th time and had made several top 10 finishes before.
I'm beyond grateful for all the support from all the Alaskans and all the people around the world following me from the show, and when it's hard and tough out there, I just think about, all these people that are so excited and pulling for me.
This year's race also had low snow levels and a record low turnout of mushers. That did spark concerns about the future of this annual event. Coming up, the federal government remains open after the Senate passes a funding bill just before a deadline. We'll tell you about the move by a top Democrat that's now drawing criticism from within his own party and praise from President Trump. I'm Max Darrow, and this is The Minute. The special election for the new mayor of Oakland is exactly 1 month away. Early voting is set to begin on Monday. Voters recalled former Mayor Sheng Tao back in November. Congresswoman Barbara Lee and former City Council member Lauren Taylor are among those on the ballot who have emerged as fundraising frontrunners. VTA employees are now on the 6th day of striking. So far, there's no sign of a deal that will get buses and light rail trains rolling again. The agency says 2 mediation sessions on Thursday and Friday ended without a resolution. Dublin will hold its annual St. Patrick's Day Parade and Festival this weekend. Today's activities include the annual Firefighters Pancake Breakfast and the St. Paddy's Day Carnival at the Dublin Civic Center. It's the 41st year of the event. And the Bay Area's only primetime newscast, weeknights at 8 and 9 p.m. on PIX Plus, 44 Cable 12. In Washington, the Senate passed a stopgap bill last night that will keep the government funded through September. But some Senate Democrats are now facing criticism for handing a win to Republicans. And earlier on Friday, President Trump made an unusual visit to the Department of Justice. More now from CBS's Bradley Blackburn.
The bill is passed.
Just hours before the government was set to partially shut down, the Senate approved a bill that will pay the bills for another 6 months. A handful of Democrats, led by leader Chuck Schumer, said going along with the Republican continuing resolution was better than the alternative.
As bad as the CR is, I believe allowing Donald Trump to take even much more power via a government shutdown is a far worse option.
The move angered many Democrats.
This bill is to establish a slush fund for Elon Musk and Donald Trump,
but earned rare praise from President Trump.
And I appreciate Senator Schumer, and I think he did the right thing.
On Friday, the president walked into the Department of Justice alongside Attorney General Pam Bondi. He delivered a law and order directive to DOJ employees.
I will insist upon and demand full and complete accountability for the wrongs and abuses that have occurred.
And he railed against the department's past investigation into him.
The case against me was
Democrats criticized the visit, which presidents have avoided in the past to maintain the Department of Justice's independence.
No other president in American history has stood at the Department of Justice to proclaim an agenda of criminal prosecution and retaliation against his political foes.
President Bush visited when the DOJ building was renamed for RFK, and President Obama attended the retirement of Attorney General Eric Holder.
Adam Bowler, a key figure in U.S. hostage negotiations, has withdrawn from consideration for a high-profile diplomatic role. This is amid controversy surrounding his direct conversations with Hamas. Bowler stepped back from his nomination as special presidential envoy for hostage affairs. His recent meeting with Hamas angered Israeli officials, fueling opposition from Senate Republicans. But the White House says the move was planned, enabling Bowler to take on a different role without Senate confirmation. He'll continue to work on hostage negotiations in a special government capacity. The ongoing ceasefire negotiations between Hamas and Israel have hit another roadblock. Hamas is making a conditional offer regarding the last living American hostage in Gaza. Hamas says it will release an American-Israeli soldier, 21-year-old Idan Alexander, and the remains of 4 other hostages if Israel sticks to a ceasefire deal. They want Israel to resume talks on a permanent truce, allow humanitarian aid, and withdraw from a key border corridor. Israel accuses Hamas of psychological warfare, while U.S. officials say the terms for the militant group are just unrealistic. As indirect talks continue in Egypt, the ceasefire's future remains uncertain. A senior leader of ISIS has been killed in a joint U.S. and Iraqi operation in what appears to be a significant blow to the militant group. Iraq's prime minister confirms that Abu Khadija was killed in an airstrike in Iraq's Anbar province on Thursday night. The operation, conducted with U.S. forces, targeted one of ISIS's most dangerous figures. It's a part of an ongoing effort to weaken the group to try and stop its activities in Syria as well. ISIS has also been expanding its presence lately beyond Iraq and Syria, despite the deaths of several top leaders. Coming up, joining forces to survive. How 2 neighboring shops in San Francisco help save each other from a post-pandemic drop-off. Running a small business can be tough, especially in San Francisco. A coffee shop in Noe Valley was struggling to survive post-pandemic. The owner says dozens of customers moved away. But then she found she didn't need to look far for help. Our Lorene Ayoub shows us how a neighboring bookstore was able to help come to the rescue.
Every book on the shelf is a reflection of the community it serves. Kit Fitzgerald, co-owner of Noe Valley Books, is excited to replenish the shelves for her ever-evolving clientele in San Francisco's Noe Valley community.
By being a bookstore where you come in and the books are chosen because you have expressed interest in them and you know the people behind the counter and they know your name and they care about talking with you and understanding your interests, it really goes a long way.
But recently, this shop of hyper-local book curation is now getting a fresh dose of caffeination thanks to a collaboration with nearby Bernie's Coffee. The longtime coffee shop, located across the street, has become an annex for the bookstore.
It did start as a selfish desire of we just want to work with someone we love and do something we believe in and bring the community together, but it was also a bit of a creative solution to some issues.
Issues being a lack of space for their surplus of books and Bernie's Coffee in need of more financial support to stay afloat with foot traffic in the area changing.
Since everybody works remote, no one commutes. So instead of waking up and walking to Bernie's, getting your coffee, going to the J, getting on BART, getting on a shuttle, that just stopped happening. So life changes is what happened. And there's nothing you could do to control that. So I did my best working in here alone to keep it together. And the payoff is that now I'm collaborating with Noe Valley Books, and it just warms my heart.
And it keeps Kit warm too, going back and forth between the 2 locations. She says the mutually beneficial business concept is attracting new visitors.
To me, I love this place. I love the people I work with and the people who come in, and I love bookstores and always have.
And now this bookstore has visitors reading between the sips.
The 2 business owners are hoping to hold more community events in the future, including highlighting authors and stories with connections to the Noe Valley neighborhood. She has worked for years to help house the homeless. We'll introduce you to this week's Icon Award winner. That is coming up after the break. Also ahead, the foundation behind LA's Museum of Tolerance taking its story on the road, the educators running the mobile museum and the message they are hoping to convey. Well, by any measure, it is an urgent need. Contra Costa County desperately needs more housing. The county's latest annual report shows they serve an estimated 14,000 homeless people every year. So, a local nonprofit leader is now developing new ways to help give people a roof over their heads. Our Sharon Chin introduces us to this week's CBS News Bay Area Icon Award winner.
A ribbon cutting opens doors to affordable housing, and fewer people living in homelessness brings Deanne Perrin a step closer to her dream.
I believe every single person deserves love and dignity and a home.
How's it going? Good. It's been busy.
Deanne has had a heart for the unsheltered since childhood.
How are you?
I'm good. And today, she's touching lives through Hope Solutions, the 28-year-old nonprofit founded by Faith Communities. It's provided permanent housing to about 2,000 people last year and kept another 1,200 from getting evicted in Contra Costa County.
I have seen the power of what we can do when everybody just does a little bit. We can truly create miraculous solutions.
In her 8 years as CEO, Deanne has shown the miracles can come from partnering with others to reimagine the solution. Take Hope Village in Walnut Creek, the county's first affordable cottage community on faith-owned land. It's 6 small homes built on a parking lot at Grace Presbyterian Church. People once homeless are finding healing.
There's no words. It is so powerful, and it gets me every time to see people with tears in their eyes, thanking us, having gratitude, and really feeling like they're about to soar.
Sandy.
Deanne says Hope Village uses a 2023 California law that fast-tracks building affordable housing on faith-owned land. With the county's short 31,000 housing units, the pilot program holds promise.
Again, 15 units of 1- and 2-bedroom cottages. And
plans are underway for stable, affordable housing in Pittsburgh on a church-owned dirt lot. Like Hope Village, the community will also include critical support services, from mental health counseling to academic tutoring. William Goodwin and his young daughter were unhoused for 7 years before they received permanent housing and support through Hope Solutions.
We needed a lot of healing and mending, dealing with the trauma of being unhoused. I'm looking forward to that.
Years later, William and his daughter are thriving, and now he serves on the nonprofit's board of directors, inspired by Deanne's passion.
Our saying is, we're the heart of housing and supportive services, and that's what she brings. She brings her heart. It's not her pretending, it's real.
And real success stories like William's drive Deanne's commitment to do more.
Like, everybody brings their gift to the table, and we are transforming lives.
It's okay.
So for creating hopeful solutions to end the cycle of poverty and homelessness in Contra Costa County, this week's CBS News Bay Area Icon Award goes to Deanne Perrin.
The Museum of Tolerance in Los Angeles sees more than 100,000 visitors per year. And now, for those who can't visit, there is a mobile museum that is on the road touring California. Our Suji Nam spoke to the educators behind the wheel about the message they are hoping to share.
Elizabeth Blair travels the country educating communities about the history of the Holocaust. Her mode of transportation, this mobile museum of tolerance.
Here it says education is key to breaking the cycle of hatred. It's from Simon Wiesenthal, who's the namesake of our organization. He was a Holocaust survivor and later became a Nazi hunter.
There are 10 mobile museums, part of the Simon Wiesenthal Center and Museum of Tolerance, based in Los Angeles. The California bus is this year's newest addition.
Good morning. This is the Mobile Museum of Tolerance.
The bus is making a stop in the Bay Area for the first time, working with California counties and school districts. Welcome. Including students from the Piedmont School District who stepped into the bus and stepped back into history. Taking a glimpse through the life of Anne Frank. Vlad Heiken, the Executive VP of Social Impact and Partnerships with the Simon Wiesenthal Center, says expanding the educational outreach has never been so crucial.
They help them understand how to live in a multi-ethnic, multiracial democracy.
According to the U.S. Department of Justice, in California, there were more than 2,100 cases of hate crimes reported in 2023. Of that, more than 430 cases were biased against religion. Hate crimes against race, ethnicity, or ancestry led with more than 1,100 reports.
This is a critical moment in our country, in the world today. You know, hate is rising. You know, a lot of communities are being targeted by hateful rhetoric, both online and offline. And so this is one intervention.
She went back into her diary.
And educational leaders like Elizabeth hopes to make an impact on the road.
If we can use this exhibit as a tool to connect those topics to students' own lives, for students to use those lessons to make a difference in the world around them, then we've really achieved our goal.
Continuing to travel and educate, one stop at a time.
Along with Piedmont, the Mobile Museum is planning stops in Palo Alto and in San Francisco in late April. Finally this morning, a groundbreaking discovery in northern Spain has rewritten a chapter in the story of human evolution in Europe.
Yeah, that's right. Archaeologists unearthed ancient bone fragments from a cave in Atapuerca Mountains. The discovery reveals that a ancient human fossil was unearthed in Spain. The prompter does not. There we go. Human population lived more than 1 million years ago. The fossils remain part of the ancient face. The human fossils were found in Western Europe. While the exact species remains uncertain, researchers suspect the remains come from the human species Homo erectus.
So the find sheds light on early human migration into Europe and also challenges existing theories about prehistoric humans, making it really an exciting milestone for science. Always interested to see these archaeological digs and what they can uncover. We can learn so much from the past.
It is so interesting to see it. When I went to Chicago a couple of months ago, I saw Lucy, which was the full hominid that they recreated. I think those things are so interesting, and maybe Lucy will get a sister or brother soon if they keep unearthing more pieces.
Zoe, you should write into them and see if you can help name the sister or brother.
That would be awesome.
All right, thanks for watching KPIX this morning. Don't forget the news continues all day. CBS News Bay Area, and we'll be back here tomorrow morning at 6 o'clock. Have a great Saturday.